Junior, since it's to my understanding that Black Adam was a financial failure, I have two questions. I'd say it's more disappointment. Do you think Black Adam was a roadblock for DJ's career, and do you think he could bounce back since his DC time is over? So, generally speaking, Black Adam, he promoted it as it's going to change the game. It came out, and it was very modest in its box office performance. So, do you think it will be a roadblock for his career, and do you think he can bounce back after this? The movie did okay. The problem with Black Adam is that it cost $200 million, $190 million, then they did like $50, $60 million worth of reshoots, and it cost like $250 million for Black Adam. It was never going to be able to make that kind of money. Giving it a $190 million budget was already putting a strain on the film for it to perform at that level, because you have to make like $600 million when your movie costs that much. And then when you add another 50, 60 million, suddenly your movie has to make $750 million to break even. And you start being like, wait a minute, how much did Man of Steel make? Superman is way more famous of a character than Black Adam. And if you look at the performance of The Rock's films that he headlines, he's a solid performer, but he's not in movies that are just him. He doesn't get movies to $1 billion by himself. Like, he's in some successful Fast and the Furious movies, but he's in successful Fast and the Furious movies. Jumanji had great legs and did great, but it was a Jumanji film that also had other people involved in it. It wasn't that The Rock by himself carried those movies to $1 billion. So, if you look at standalone The Rock films, Black Adam, by comparison, did really well. But they spent too much money on the film. And I think his ego probably took a hit because he pushed it so hard as this is going to change everything. And it did change everything. They went, that didn't work, let's get James Gunn. It did change everything, but not for the reason that he thought, not the way that he thought. And so it takes a hit to his ego a little bit. There's a little bit of like, okay, The Rock's not as powerful as he made himself out to be, but I don't think it's going to be a big hit to his career. I think, if he gets good projects afterwards, he'll be fine. I think it maybe makes him understand how successful he can be a little bit better, but I don't think that it's a big hit. Just as long as his next hit movie, if he does Jumanji 3 that we were just talking about, and it does well, he's fine. If he does a modest budget film that does solid numbers, he's fine. But I think he just needs to be a little bit careful about overselling a movie that it's Black Adam. Black Adam is not an A-list comic book character. Black Adam is a character that's known for being tied to Shazam, and Shazam is not A-list comic book character. You just look at the box office performance of the first Shazam and go, probably doing a movie about his villain that's not tied to Shazam, probably shouldn't expect that to make $750 million. That's what they did. They gave the movie too big of a budget and thus embarrassed themselves over that. But it was that. I don't think it's The Rock. I don't think it's anything like that. They just spent too much money, and it was never going to be able to make as much money as it needed to make in light of its budget.